Stand by for the Brewery Underground Podcast.
In Nashville's harbor wise, cracked and bruised when we've disguised. Stephen Scott, they lead the way. Brewery Underground, night and day. Raise your glass, let's ignite. In this city, we unite. Raise your glass, let's ignite. In this city, we unite.
Well, Steve, we're back on the Brewery Underground Podcast. If you notice, it's just me and you this time.
We don't have any guests? Where are they? What happened?
Nobody would say yes. They all said no this week. So we had to you just got me. That's it.
But we're doing it live. No, we're not actually doing it live.
Live enough.
Never gets old. It never gets old.
Nope. We actually, we planned this one to do this. We wanted to do a, what we're going to call, I don't know, first quarter review of 2026 or something. Not quite halfway, but a lot's gone on. And you were like, let's do some kind of review thing at this point. And I think it was a good idea because we had a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to kind of jump all over the place. We've got a lot of subjects and a lot of topics, but we're going to have some fun with it too. We like doing these things.
We do. A lot of fun things going on locally, a lot of changes going on locally.
Yeah.
And we're also going to talk towards the end some of our favorite check-ins of, I don't know, craft beer so far.
Craft beer.
In
Somehow it boils
2026.
down to that.
Imagine that.
How do we always get back to beer every single
I
time?
don't know. On the Brewery Underground Podcast, how do we do that?
Every single time. It's all right. It's a theme. We're going to keep with it.
Yeah. Well, I know you're drinking a beer.
Yeah.
What you got?
I'll tell you what. I'll start. And this is actually going to come up in a bit, but we have Great Lakes in Tennessee now, right?
Yes, we do.
And we've got four that, yay. And we got four that were launched here. Stellar. We both got them. I've got some in the fridge, but a new one has popped up in the state, and it's the Orange and Honey Wheat. And I think it's a brand new beer from Great Lakes anyway. I think it's only a few weeks old as a brand. So it is here in Tennessee. We found it at Main Street as we got our other beer. So you and I split a 6-pack of this. So it is very delicious and very crushable.
That's right. Talk about timing. I was with you that day. It was after a beer festival. And we stopped in there and you're like, you got word that they had a new variation. It's like you went in, you got it. And I think I had it the next day. Man, it was good. A really good summer beer, too.
It is. I think I saw a blurb, or maybe it was even Instagram, where they said they went through 50 variations of this as they were sampling it within the brewery to come out with this with this recipe. So I think they did their due diligence, don't you?
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Fair. Very
excellent.
Very,
beer.
very good beer. I loved it.
So we're already getting new stuff. One of these days we're going to walk in and Vivacious is going to be. That's my next expectation. Right?
Yes. Cannot wait for that day. And the Juicy Vivacious as well.
Yep.
Bring them on. Bring them on.
I feel like it's coming.
Yes. Well, I bought some beer recently. I was out in Franklin, Tennessee, Cool Springs Wine and Spirits, one of our favorite places to get craft beer singles. And I don't get to Franklin a couple times a year. I'll go in there because it's a little far from my house. But I went in there and I looked over and I spotted a beer. And I knew this podcast episode was coming up. I got excited because it is a brewery that you and I have been before. I have not had this beer, but we have been to this brewery before. And the first time I mentioned this brewery, it generated apparently some excitement as to how I pronounced this brewery.
You got me curious. I still don't know.
So, ladies and gentlemen, from Columbus, Ohio, Hoof Harden.
There it is. There it is.
There it is. To all my friends out there that apparently have been very entertained when I say Hoof Harden, because it just happened about a year ago. I did it that way, and I didn't really expect it to generate that much laughter, but I'm glad it did. And so I saw this and I went, all right. So this is going to be a good night for me too, because this is called Key Bump Pure Snow, and it is a triple IPA.
Oh boy.
At 10.5%.
You're going to feel no pain in about 20 minutes.
Yep. So
going back to your Hoof-Hearted. Your other videos have been made. I think Beer Cat made a video, maybe with Tom, with duplicating the Hoof-Hearted. Oh, it would go down in infamy.
There you go.
Brewery Underground Podcast lore.
Yeah, I love it. I
If you
love
will.
it.
How's the
Well,
beer?
I think maybe you've had this thing before, but this basically it says it's an oat cream triple IPA brewed with like vanilla, milk sugar, hop with citra. I mean, and it is as
Lovely.
advertised. It's pretty
Lovely.
good.
Yes. Yeah, they make good stuff.
Yep. And like
They
I
make
said,
good
it
stuff.
is 10.5%.
Wow. Well, you know it wasn't made in Tennessee.
I was thinking about that too before I opened it. I was like, yeah, you wouldn't get this in Tennessee.
No, they would brew it exactly at 10.1.
Well, there we go. Who
Well,
farted?
cheers. You gotta go. You gotta go. I did not see that coming. That was a great segment.
Usually, yeah, I didn't give you too many hints on this one.
No,
I
don't know
think
where
I
it was
may have
going.
mentioned the other day that I had a special beer for this episode.
All right, that was a good one.
Yeah, I try to plan them out sometimes. You know, sometimes we have episodes and then you try to plan ahead and then maybe like a week or two beforehand, you're going, oh man, I
Yeah.
got to get a beer that's going to match this podcast episode. So I'm glad I found that one.
You did good. You did good saving
Well,
that one for the rest.
Because the last time I had been out there, they didn't have any who farted, and they had a couple this time, so I was kind of excited when I went there.
It's cool. You know, it's one of those that we get sometimes, but not often. Like you might not see it again for a while for certain ones, but it's when you see it, it's pleasant. You're pleasantly surprised. You're like, hell yeah, let me get that.
Well, fun times. You
Yes.
know, I have to tell you something because I know you're a guy. For people that are listening, if you live in Nashville, you've heard us talk about how bad traffic can be. Poor Scott at times is tortured by it because you do have to drive into work each day. And I know there are some days that you are just tortured by traffic. I was just reading something that came today that the American Transportation Research Institute released a report that says Tennessee has 8 out of the 100 worst truck bottlenecks on interstates around here. Now,
Yeah.
if there's truck bottlenecks, there's also going to be car bottlenecks as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it and I went, well, around here it's I-24 to I-40 and then 440 East.
Yeah.
So that area is really bad. And then so that's the number 7th bottleneck in the country. And the number 19th bottleneck in the country is I-40 at I-65 East.
I don't even know how they could decipher the differences between them. It's all a shit show.
I don't know. But sometimes when we get out and about, we have to plan our trips based on, based on the bottlenecks that happen in this town. So I know it was funny a couple of weeks ago when we may talk about this, but not a couple of weeks ago when I went to Stokehouse because we had a big meeting at Stokehouse with some folks on a Thursday night. Chad saw me there and he's like, it's kind of rare we see you during the week. And I'm like, it's kind of rare I get out in downtown during the week because it could be real challenging for me to get down there and then get back home.
You came through there at like prime time too, or just prior to prime time. Just, just traffic wise,
yeah.
You were coming into town, which probably made it a little bit better, but it's not much of it. It's a shit show regardless.
Only a 45-minute drive that time of day, 5 o'clock or something. But,
I wonder if T-Dot actually ever drives on the roads in Nashville. I don't think they actually experience the traffic on a daily basis. I don't think they do.
Yeah. Before we get to some of the stuff going on in Nashville, we should talk about that night.
Yeah, that's a great segue. Yeah.
We had a great night not long ago at Stokehouse Brewing because we got there. There was a collab beer going on with Johnson City Brewing. Our good friend Eric Latham and their head brewer Anna McKay have brewed a beer with Stokehouse.
Yep, they did, and we went for the release party. So they done it a couple of months prior, and it's called the Citrus Heffa. So it's a citrus Hefeweizen. And it's fantastic.
It is, yeah.
It's great, yeah. And to talk about the beer, we can talk about the beer some more. But it was awesome. Well, I will. It's a Hefeweizen in its truest form. Like you get the cloves and you get the banana, but it's really juicy. Like it's really juicy. I don't know that I've ever had one that juicy before. And it's delicious. It looks the part. It's fantastic. What were your thoughts about it?
Oh, the same way. Yeah. Very, very different, very juicy for something like that, because sometimes that style of beer can be almost a little off-putting to the palate, at least in my opinion. And so when I got it, I just went, okay, this is different. This is I like. Had two of them that night. But the other thing that when we got there, I was so glad I showed up that night. You talk about being in the right place at the right time, because there was such a great gathering of folks there. Not only, of course, did we finally, well, you had met him before very briefly. You had met Eric Latham, but we had not had a chance other than being on the podcast with him, through like here. We had not actually had the chance to, sit down with him, drink a beer. And so he came. Another one of our friends from the beer community that listens
Colo-
to us.
Colorado Beer Hunter. And
Yes.
his Tom, his name was Tom, and his wife
Yep.
Tracy was with him. And he had texted me or DM me, I don't know, a week or two prior, and kind of telling me he was coming to Nashville, what places I would recommend, and da da da. Try to meet up. And I said, well, the one day I can meet up would be, because they were leaving on the Friday, would be that Thursday, which is when we went. I said, you need to go to Stokehouse, and we're going to be there anyway for this release party and all that. So he did join us over there, and we had a blast with that guy and his wife,
Yeah.
Tracy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll be getting him on a future podcast episode. Appreciate him listening all the way from Colorado. And it's always fascinating to me in a good way when we find folks like that. They're like, yeah, we have found your podcast and we really enjoy you guys and enjoy what you do. And so just to give back and to meet up with them for a little bit and have a couple of beers with them.
Yeah, he literally reached out and said, hey, I listen, and do you have any recommendations based on that? So it was really cool that he listened, and then we actually got to meet up, and we had the best, like that night, and we'll talk more about it here in a minute, but that night turned into be something even more, I'll say, special than we thought
Yes.
even going in. We got to meet Eric, really you for the first time, but me really got to, have a beer with them and have some conversations and stuff. But so much more went on as the night went on. It was, and I'll tell you, it was like, I think I equated this to if you were backstage at a rock concert and you were in the rock business, right? Or you were in the band business or the music business, and all these people were just walking around in that same genre that you're in.
Right.
It was the same way for me in Stokehouse that night with the people that were walking around.
Well, and then we were sitting there, and who walks in, and we were joking with him a little bit. Probably the most humble guy you'll ever want to meet. Understand it, but still, he has our respect. He should have our respect, and he really has the respect of all the brewers out there in the beer community because he's paved the way for them. Kent Taylor, who is the owner of Blackstone and probably one of the first breweries that I ever went to, and he came, and it was kind of funny. We walked up to him, we're kind of joking around like, we're not worthy, we're not. Come on, guys, stop that. But no, it was just really good to see him, and I think the fact that obviously Eric and the work that he's done with the Tennessee Brewers Guild as well. They came in and they all know each other, and so it was just a really good night of a good gathering of the beer community that night.
It was when he walked through, and I looked over at Chad at one point. I go, wow. And he goes, I know. I don't think he expected Kent to be there. And I don't know that Kent visits a lot of breweries or visits, a lot of places on his own. Typically, that's from what I hear anyway. For him to show up was a big deal there.
Yeah.
Eric being there, he's part of the Tennessee Brewers Guild. Kent is, Chad is, Matt, I hope I get his name right, Matt Altabal.
I think so.
He was there too. We've met him, talked to him a little bit. We're going to maybe do something with him soon. He was there. He's the executive director of the Tennessee Brewers Guild. So he was there. It was kind of the who's who was there. And we were talking to Tom, again, Colorado Beer Hunter, like, this doesn't happen all the time, man. Like, we're
It
in
doesn't
awe.
happen all the
Like,
time.
this has
Yeah.
not happened. This is like you caught like this
Yeah.
all-star team that walked in.
And of course, being at SoCal's, we all had a lot of great food. And co-owner Mike Morbitzer was out in the food truck doing everything that he does as well. So it was really just a fun night at the Stokehouse that night to be there to support the collab beer that was going on with Johnson City Brewing.
Yeah, it was awesome. We let go in there anyway, and the fact that they came out with that collab, and Eric was going to be there, which was a big deal. So
Yeah.
which is the reason you're like, I'm coming this time. I'm going to be down
Oh
there.
yeah. Traffic or no traffic, I'm going to be down there, and so it was a great time.
Yeah, it was. I truly will be something that might be one of the top 5 events of the year when the year's over with for me. Like just personally, like just being around that
Yeah.
group is just so cool. It's again, if you're not in the beer community or, for us, we know who these people are and it's a big deal.
We mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, a lot of changes that have gone on in the brewery scene in Nashville this year. And so we'll talk just about a few of them. And I want to throw this out. Let's begin with this. If you had told you and I, like this time a year ago, we knew Zool was making an impact. They've been making an impact in Tennessee for a while, based in Knoxville. And we know a couple of years ago that we were starting to see some of their beer filter into the Nashville area. But if you would have told me a year ago that Zool would be basically taking over Southern Grist, and I think by the end of the year it's going to be like the Zool brand, spot on when you go to a Southern Grist location. I don't know, man. I've been like, really? Is that really going to happen? I mean, we've always known that they've been a good tag team and partnering and stuff like that, and I think the Southern Grist brand is always going to stick around, but it goes into one of the bigger changes that we've already seen in 2026 in the Nashville market. And I have to say, I think Zool is already really making a big impact in this area.
Massive. And it's one that everybody's excited for. I think even if you're like, hey, I'm a grist purist, you're going to have to like Zool, even if you're not warmed up to them. You're going to have to, because so many of their styles run parallel to each other. So some of the core stuff, like you said, from grist will stick around. I don't know what those are going to be yet. But the new exciting stuff that Zool brings in too is really, it's exciting. It's we're excited. One of the things was they did a few weeks ago, they do PB&J Mixtape Day, and they've been doing it in Knoxville for years. Well, they did the first one here in Nashville just a couple of weeks ago, and I went to it and I said, I got to do this. I got to partake, and kind of knew about what to expect. So anyway, it's what it is Mixtape Day is the only time, I think for the most part, that you can get packaged mixtapes. Like if you go around town and you can find it, it's going to be on draft, and around here it's usually going to be, the grape. But this is the time of the year where you can actually get it in cans.
It's a big event.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I walked away with, they give you a little card while you're in line, and it had all 6 variants that you could pick from. When they told you, hey, you can get up to 2 4-packs of each. And on the grape, you can get up to 4 4-packs if you want them. So you wrote down on the card how many 4-packs you want. And when you got up there, you hand it to them and they load you up and paid for it. But they had the grape, they had blueberry, they had cherry, blackberry, raspberry, and then Fit for a King, which is the banana one. So I got 2 packs of all of them. I didn't need 4 of the grape because, again, I can kind of get that one anytime.
Right.
But I came home with 48 beers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some were new, some I've had, but it was like, this is an opportunity to get. So I can share and give away and do that kind of thing. I will say it was cool. They had you can still buy beer in line. So before I got in line for the event, I stood in the draft line and could get some stuff. And they actually had peach on draft, which I got. They didn't have it in the cans, but they had on draft. So I was able to get that. And you could do that. And then you go get your stuff and get back in line if you wanted to, and, and get some more beer, and had several things. And I'll tell you this, Steve, when I got in line, the event started at 5:00. I got in line for the cans for the event at 4:35. Like, I'm not standing in line for 2 hours.
Right.
But in 36 minutes, I had my beer loaded in the car, and I might have been at least 100, maybe 150 people back.
Wow. Yeah.
It was pretty efficient, especially for the first time at that location. So they had it figured out pretty good. They had a lot of staff. Again, you walk up there, hand them your card, they're just loading you up. Here, boom, 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 and out you go. So it was really well done. And I think some of them were saying, hey, we probably got some room for improvement because it was the first time we've done it. But I thought it was well done.
Well, and what's really cool, and we've talked over the time when we've done this podcast, is when you see breweries that are doing those and they turn it into an event. We love seeing those type of things. You said breweries that are doing that, they're at the forefront right now of really knowing how to stay out there, how to stay relevant, and at a time where sometimes it could be a little difficult to grow.
Yeah.
That's how you keep it going. That's how you grow.
It is. They came across something. They discovered this PB&J mixtape thing, and it has blown up for them.
It's a thing.
It is. It's amazing to see, and they're doing the right thing. They keep coming out with variants. They also have an orange marmalade and a marshmallow, I think. I've not even come across those yet, but
no. Yeah, I know that's funny. The marmalade, it kind of reminds me of a kid when maybe your mom would make you a sandwich and it's like, oh, marmalade. It's been a long
Yeah.
time since I've had marmalade, but it kind of takes you back. The other thing that I'll note about this, so for people that might be listening and you're going, I don't know, man, PB&J sours may not be exactly my thing. You know what? They got some great beer there as well that
Yeah.
aren't just sours. They do other styles. They do IPAs. I mean, they do pilsners. Almost everything I've had from them, I would definitely have again. I really would. So they do it up
Barrel aged
right.
stuff. Yeah. Barrel aged
Huh?
stuff. Both Grist and Zool do it. Grist was probably did a little more, I think, on the lager side, but Zool's coming along because they have kind of a
Sure.
spin-off brand too that they make right next door to their location in Knoxville. The old geezers,
Yes.
I forget what they call it, but it's another brand. But it's kind of the crispy boy kind of stuff, the lighter
Mm-hmm.
stuff that
Yep.
they're doing. So they can do it all, and they do it all well. And
They
dude, I'm
do.
telling you, we live in a city right now because of that. That's really exciting.
It
Again,
is, yeah. I know
I
we've
think we've
talked
got
about that. We were curious. We were curious late last year when we saw that they were coming in, and we were sort of like, okay, hopefully Nashville's just not going to be like a feeder city because they're based in Knoxville. And I don't think so, man. They've come in, they've hit the ground running, and if you go to some package stores as well, you see more Zool. It's not just PB&Js, as I said a couple of
yeah.
minutes ago. Even if you go into some of the package stores, you see other variants of beer that they have out there. So it's really good to see Zool making an impact. I'll tell you the other thing that has happened this year in 2026. And if you told me a year ago this would happen, I'd say, oh, come on.
I know,
No.
I know where you're going with this.
One of the long-standing breweries here in Nashville, their tap room closed. Now they're still open for business, but it's under the banner of Jackalope, and that would
Uh-huh.
be Black Abbey, Carl Meyer. They closed their tap room not long ago, and now they're in partnership with Jackalope. You can go to Jackalope and you can get the Black Abbey brand. Thank God, because we love Black Abbey. And
hmm
Carl Meyer, the owner, well, he's over there now. He's doing sales, but that's another one. If you had told me a year ago that that was going to happen, I would have been like, no, come
Yeah.
on, that's not going to
I
happen.
know. I know. That's
Yeah.
when I've just been like, yeah, I've been like, nah. I'd have picked 10 others before I would have picked that one
Yeah.
that was going to happen. But, I don't know. I can't speak for Carl, but, if you get
Mm-mm.
an opportunity to sell sometimes, and this is the way the market is and the beer business is, maybe you take that opportunity, just to,
Well,
and he's still
yeah.
in the, like you said, he's still involved and he's a salesman for them. So the beer's still being produced and I'm sure he's going to, that beer won't change being that he's there. You know what I mean? Like the quality should still be there and all that.
Yeah, and we hopefully have on the pipeline in the near future to get Carl on and the folks from Jackalope and really kind of talk about how this new partnership came about. There's long history anyway with Jackalope and with Black Abbey. It goes back a long time if you follow the brew scene in Nashville.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be good. It's something we're working on. Carl has responded. We're trying to wait for the maybe the Jackalope side to
Yep.
to say yes, and maybe we can get that together. That would be a really fun conversation.
Yes, no, absolutely. Well, another one, I'm not sure we would have been surprised by this one. It just happened recently, and we were kind of wondering about it because when we first started our podcast a couple years ago, one of our very first guests was the head brewer at Baseline, Chris
Chris
Dolan.
Dolan.
Yeah, he eventually had left there, but we had been out the Baseline a couple of times. A tremendous space out in West Nashville, but we were talking about this probably over the past year or so. We'd have conversations with other people. You hear too much about Baseline? You hear much about Baseline? And I remember meeting the owners about 2 years ago at Preds Fest downtown, but then it was just sort of like I don't know, they just maybe just weren't out there as far as like social media postings and things like that, and you really weren't hearing too many folks talk about them. Well, long story short here, as I'm trying to get to the point, Baseline recently closed. That's the bad news. The good news is, and ironically, in the space they're going into, it's going to be the third brewery that has been in that location. So hopefully, third time is the charm. It is the resurgence and the return of Harding House.
Yeah, like you said, that is a great space over there. It's
Yeah.
huge. The tap room's huge. They've got some space for food. They've got their own private patio out there. You know, if you want to go hang out there, the tap room's huge. It's in that building where you can go and walk around and get like, I assume you can bring food in, like different foods and shops and things and all that. So, and I'm glad to see Harding House back. They had an iteration where they went into a coffee shop, and I guess that didn't work out, but they're moving into this space and they're getting it built out. So I'm excited to see it. We loved it at their first iteration on 51st Avenue. If you remember back
Yep.
there, in the nation's great spot, really cool hangout. A lot of locals were walking up. I'd run into all sorts of people over there I knew because it was just, it was kind of a walk up traffic, really great spot, unique beers, but all high quality. So maybe they can get back to that and maybe brew their stuff and there. It's a big spot, so we'll see what happens. But I'm excited for somebody
Yeah.
to be in there.
Yeah, it's in the L&L market, and I'm really excited too. I really cannot wait to get over there and see what it's all about because the space is tremendous. It really is.
It is.
It's a beautiful building, and there's some other things that go on in there as well, some other shops and things like that.
Mhm.
But really excited that the resurgence. We always want to see a resurgence, right?
Harding House's beer has been around. Like you could find it in
Yes.
cans, like a church parking lot, and maybe I think there's a red ale or something they have out. So you could still find it periodically. It just when they left the coffee shop, they didn't have a space. So to see them go into you hate that one brewery closes, but another one's going right in there. So that kind of like, okay, that's cool. At least we got another brewery going in there.
Yeah, and we know that in fact, by the time this podcast episode comes out, maybe they will already be open or getting close to open. I know on their website, it's hardinghousebrew.com. You can follow them there. And of course, on their Instagram page, and I think they're on Facebook as well. So follow them there. And once they open, hopefully we'll get out there. I'm sure we will. And check them out and see what it is that they're all about.
Well, we have to go
time,
plant our
but-
sticker. We have to go plant our sticker out there.
We gotta go plant our sticker. That's right.
We're going to be the first. Hey,
Yeah.
another one,
yeah.
and I don't know if you were going to bring this one up yet, but Wiseacre buying Bearded Iris was another
Yes.
huge acquisition in this town. And that happened almost parallel with the Zool Southern Grist acquisition.
Yes, it did. They haven't gotten as much publicity that news. I feel like it right now. We were talking about this recently. I was on their website about a week ago, and it seems like maybe it's just stay the course right now. With Bearded Iris, it looks like they're doing a lot of their core beers. Haven't really heard too much about what Wiseacre taking them over is going to do, but hopefully we'll find out in the future, what bigger plans that they have for their Nashville location.
Yeah, I know they closed the Sylvan Supply location, which is actually ironically out there in the nations near where Harding House is going in, which we really like that spot. Hadn't been to the Germantown location in a while, but apparently they were focusing on that one. Not they're going to rebrand it, obviously, but they're going to like renovate the whole space and stuff too. I need to check up on that. It may be done. We've not been over there yet, but I'm hearing really good things about the beer.
Good.
And when I say that is because there was a transition, I think, where Bearded Iris was not necessarily making their beer. Someone else was. And now that Wiseacre's kind of taken over, like that brand is coming back bigger and better and stronger. Like the beer's back to the quality that it once was.
Yeah.
Because Homestyle is that flagship Nashville beer.
Well, I was about to say that, and if you talk Bearded Iris, even if you talk to, we know there's people that listen to us in other states. Chances are, if you've been to Nashville, you probably have had a Homestyle. The Homestyle IPA. One of the best drinking IPAs, drinkable and drinking IPAs that I've ever had. And if I go to a place and they don't have a lot of craft beer on tap, there might be certain sports bars and stuff like that in town. But if you have Homestyle IPA, oh man, set me up
Yeah.
for it. Set me up for
Yeah.
it.
I remember having it for the first time. And like, I think Chris Finn and I were like, we couldn't get enough of it. Everywhere we
Yes.
went was Homestyle.
Yep.
I think we burned ourselves out on it for a bit, but it was the thing. And I would say if there was ever a beer that represented Nashville, it was Homestyle.
Well, and the funny thing is, you and I, we're in like group text messages with the foamies, Mitch and Rich. And so we all turn into like investigative reporters sometimes when we're out at different stores and stuff like that. And it was a few months ago when this was when this was announced, and I was at a store and I took a picture and I'm like, guys, look at this. Wiseacre beer is next to Bearded Iris. They're
That's
doing
right.
the marketing. They're doing the marketing together. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
Yeah.
Cool to see. And Wiseacre is bigger than you think. If people aren't familiar
Hmm.
with Wiseacre, they're out of Memphis. They're a
Yep.
bigger brewery than you think. Tiny Bomb kills it. I know Rich is a big fan of that one.
You like it at Fred's games?
I do like it at Fred's games. It's very crushable. It's a really good beer. But they are huge. They're a really big brand, especially coming here and buy a Wiseacre, or excuse me, buy a Bearded Iris brand. Pretty big. So we need to go over there and check it out because I think that's, like you said, it's got a little under the radar, but I think Zool might have stole some of that thunder because it was announced about the same time.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, for anybody with Wiseacre or Bearded Iris, I am waiting for the next thing. I want to see what you all have coming next. I'm excited about it and the anticipation. We're sitting here tonight on this podcast episode going, let's see what else you guys got because I really want to see what's next for them.
Yeah, that's good. And to bring up the foamies again, they love the other stuff too. Like I think Rich talks about getting those mix packs. He really loves the Bearded Iris mix stuff. So everything they've done has always been good.
Yeah, I think you can go out and get a mix pack sometimes at stores for like $20-$25 or something. So
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good deal.
Yeah, so let's you and I look into that because if that tap room is open, like under
Yep.
Wiseacre, we're overdue for getting over there.
We are.
Plus, we can also go to
Definitely.
a Sounds game because we kind of like that baseball.
Hey, there you go. The Nashville Sounds, AAA. I love it. I love it. Yeah, definitely. Well, another change that has happened, this is another one. So it's almost like somewhat like a baseline deal. You hate to hear it. It's still going to continue. So Cyanide Cider has closed their location, location off of Nolensville Pike near I-440. We love Grayson. In fact, when Cyanide was going to open a couple of years ago, he invited us out even before they opened and let us do a podcast episode. Well, Cyanide has closed. The Cyanide brand, I believe, is still going to be flourishing at Crazy Gnome. So go to Crazy Gnome over in East Nashville. We love Grayson Miller. We ran into him recently. We know that everything on that end is going great. I think it's just a business decision that they made on the cidery. But that happened. Hate to hear that, but here's another one that we just found out about recently. And we heard rumblings about this over the past year or so, but we don't sit there and speculate on podcast episodes until we hear stuff for sure, because sometimes this is gospel. But Marble Fox, we love Marble Fox. Their location down at the Gulch they're going to be relocating, and ironically, they're going to be going in soon into the location that was Cyanide Cider.
That's exactly right. So I'm sure there's some build out they might have to do, but that's kind of set up maybe for some brewing and
Yep.
maybe they got some space in there. So like you said, glad to see Marble Fox. Don't know their situation necessarily in the Gulch, but we knew they had to go do something at some point. So maybe timing worked out perfectly for them to move into this new spot. So and I'm not going to give dates, but I was talking to someone recently. It might be sooner than later. Like it might not
Yeah.
be end of the year. Like it might be like months, like just a
Yeah.
couple of months or something. So we'll see how that goes. But
Well, and Marble Fox has such a great following. I mean, coming up in June, they're going to be in Nashville now, established 3 years. And you talk about a brewery that gets discussed quite a bit in a positive way by a lot of folks who enjoy craft beer, and they are doing a lot of great things. In fact, I don't think that it's necessarily strategic on their part. But they might be the only ones that I know of that have really I don't want to use the word head on, but they also have embraced themselves into some of the PB&J beers that Zool is doing. I gotta tell you, man. I mean, sometimes if you were to do a comparison, you go, man, which one do I choose? Do I choose the one over on the left, the right, and the middle? What do I do? But you enjoy it. You enjoy it. It's okay whether you like, one brand or not, or the other.
yeah, both are top shelf beers.
They are.
I mean, the one Marble Fox does is incredible as well. And they do some variants too of the different jellies. John is putting out some terrific stuff. So John and Bruin are putting out some terrific stuff over there. And look, I don't think a lot of breweries would compete, in that genre.
No.
Be like, why should we do that? But they did, and it's really good stuff.
It really is. And it kind of goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. If you're listening and you're wondering, do they do anything else? Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm glad they found a spot. I think just personally, and again, I don't know their situation or what their situation was, but a little worried that they might go away. That was just my own
Yeah.
fear, you know.
Yeah.
Like, God, I hope something doesn't happen to Marble Fox too, you know. So to hear that part that they're going to be here and continue on is a, you know, it's a huge thing because we love those guys so much, and
We do. We do.
maybe look for them to join us somewhere down the road.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I
before you
think
go any further, before we get past the Zool stuff too, I brought one up. I brought up a blueberry of the PB&J mixtape, and I got
Well,
some
crack it
more
open,
down.
man. Crack it
I'm
open.
gonna crack it open. I
The
just
two
want
you
to-
gave me, I already had recently, so I'll talk about them in a few minutes.
I want to see the color.
The color scheme. Let's look at the color
of this
scheme.
thing. And I'm sure if anybody's had it or seen it, they probably know about what the color is going to look like. But look at that.
It's a nice pour. There you
Nice
go.
pour. Not a lot of carbonation. Not your typical of 1 or 2 fingers of foam.
That's right.
In something like this, but
Show the glass.
Okay. This is
the people.
we learned this is a shaker pint, by the way. We just learned this recently. And it is my Sullivan and Turon Brewery Adventures glass that my daughter's got for me. So
Yay!
this is not official. It's not official glass. As it's, you know, we can't buy it in the merch store as of yet. But it is my Sullivan and Turon Brewery Adventures glass.
All right.
Yes.
I'm still drinking a little bit more of this Hoof-hearted. There you go.
Hoof-hearted. And I just spilled blueberry on my desk. So I just want to bust out. This is actually the only second time I've had it. So I want to kind of see how it compares to the first time. Anyway, so
All right,
cheers.
here we go.
Let's
Taking
have
a sip here. What's going on? Mmm.
God, you get the blueberry. Man, you just get it on the nose.
The look
You
on
know
your
it's
face.
it's peanut butter and jelly on the nose alone. Yeah, that's legit. That's good. That is good. You get the peanut butter, you get the blueberry, you get the jelly. Yeah, it's pretty stellar.
All right.
I would
Awesome.
recommend it.
Highly recommended from Scott Turon, ladies and gentlemen. Go get it. Go get it where you can find it.
Oh, get the blueberry.
I have a question for you.
All right.
The question is, I hate to ask this question because it makes me sad. Will Barrique ever reopen in Nashville?
The hope is yes. That's all we've got to go by is a little bit of hope. A little bit of hope. We've heard rumblings. When I say rumblings, it's probably just people's opinions and stuff. But we're hoping. Apparently, they still have a lot of beer, and they have to do something with that. The tap room has since closed. I think they were going to be there for a while doing some blending and whatnot to finish out the space, but don't know what's going to happen there. I always feel like the beer is just too good for that to go away.
Well, I agree. For those of you that maybe you're newer listeners and you're asking who was Barrique or what is Barrique, if you ask people that know what's that phrase? If you know, you know.
Yeah.
If you ask people in the beer community around Nashville or those that come to Nashville, if you know, you know. And that's how it is with Barrique because, man, you talk about a great place in a very interesting space. Talk about the space that they had there and some of the beers that they had there, Scott.
Yeah, so before it was Barrique, it was Little Harpeth. I'd been in there. That's they're owned by Littman, actually, as a matter of fact. Now, Little Harpeth is. But so Barrique took over that space, and it's this giant, I just call it an open warehouse, really, is what it, at least what it was. And it's filled with full barrels, like just barrels, just topped really right up to the ceiling, from the floor to the ceiling, all over that place, or at least it was. And they're all full of beer, and that's what they use for their. If you ever had any of their true sours, the stuff that comes in the bottles, the bigger bottles, that's that blending. It's brewing and blending, and that blending is where, like, you know, there might be some kind of wine bottle or wine barrel or something, and something with some peaches and some nectarines and some grape, and
tremendous.
And it's the complete. If you call this a sour beer, right? A lot of people call it sour, fruited sour. There's nothing sour about this. It's delicious. Their sour is the complete opposite of that, right? But it is top shelf stuff. It's really high end, delicious, and then not to mention they did lagers and they did IPAs and they did ESBs and traditional styles. Hell, they had a slow pour.
But just completely different from any other brewery in Nashville. I mean, there was no other brewery in Nashville that was doing anything remotely, really, of what they were doing. They, even if you would go into other breweries in Nashville and the beer community, they all support each other. They would always talk about going to Barrique as well. And the space, now, we missed kind of the headline at the beginning. The reason they're going away is because of eminent domain. Thank you,
Mhm.
Nashville, because
Yeah.
Nashville has to keep building out, so they took over
Yeah.
the space. But I'll tell you, we have probably shared this memory a few times, but we have been to you and I think you have been to Barik a little bit more than I have, but we have been to Barik together and with some of the friends a few times. But the best story that you and I have together was a couple of years ago. It was during a week that Nashville got like some unprecedented snow and cold. Nobody could get out, and we were sheltered in our homes, for like a week. And then we just said, we got to get out. We got to go somewhere. We went to a couple places and we went into Barik, and see Barik, because of the way it was set up, they didn't have heat in that place. And we went in there at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe on like a Saturday, and it was like 12 degrees or something. And Scott, finish the story because I feel like I'm hogging the conversation
Yeah,
here.
no, it's great because it was the Friday because we had been cooped up in the house all week.
Yeah.
We literally we're getting out of the house one way or another. And like you said, it hadn't warmed up. We'd been it'd been all week and it was still only like 12 degrees outside. It sucked. Like, we're getting the hell out. Let's go to Barik. The temperature that it is outside is the temperature that it is inside at Barik.
Right.
it's just automatic, and it's because of the conditioning. They don't the ceilings are so high, and if you tried to heat the thing, it probably just would never, you'd just be throwing money out the window. So it was just whatever it was, it was. So that day was so cold that we survived one drink. We're like, we got to find some heat. We just couldn't.
I
You see
literally
your
felt like years ago when I growing up in Cincinnati, and I was at a Cincinnati Bengals game in the wintertime and sitting way up, and you're just like, what are we doing here? The
Yeah.
only difference was we were at Barik and we were drinking craft beer and we were having a
Yeah.
good time. It was just cold.
It was cold. Like, till you stay bundled up inside. You got gloves on drinking your beer. It was the it was the environment, and you kind of knew that going in, but it was cold. The other funny
Yeah.
part of that is we left there, we go, let's go somewhere inside. And we went to Fela Forest, which was inside. But they have a lot of glass in that place. Like, everything's a lot of glass. And that cold was coming through there too. I don't think we got a lot warmer that day, but
Yeah, it was a little chilly. Well, that's another big change that's happened in Nashville this year. And, again, we hope we're on the lookout. I feel like Barik will come back in some form or fashion. That's the kind of going back to what we said a few minutes ago. It's one of the big challenges right now that a lot of breweries are facing in the Nashville area. But I think that may have been one of the things with Marble Fox, is because there's so many big businesses in Nashville, high rises and other developments that are taking over. And, this may be a podcast episode another time of like the rent, property taxes, which has become a really big controversial subject in Nashville, has really impacted some of the businesses, and especially the breweries. They're trying to
Mhm.
make money, and how do you make money? And if you're in the Nashville area, where all of that's going on.
Yeah, like they're like, hey, we're going to build something here. We're just going to take your spot. That's what they do. I mean, I think
And
pretty sure
eminent
that's what Marble Fox. Yeah, that building that Barik was in. There are other businesses in there. They're all going to go away. They're going to just tear the building down, and I don't know what's going to go up there. But it's certainly related to the new Titan Stadium.
Oh
If
yeah, I was going to say that. I mean,
yeah,
you got the new Titan Stadium, which is probably 2 blocks away. Nashville's going to be getting a Super Bowl in a couple of years, and I think I have seen renderings over the years of like a whole area of different maybe shops and other things, interactive things around where the new Titan Stadium is going to be. So that's probably going to be a part of it. And the city's just like, nope, sorry, we're taking over. Bye bye, Barik.
yeah, that building's X amount of years old. They're like, yeah, we're just going to take it. We don't care.
Yeah.
Good luck. You know, and just as a sidebar, not that it affects any breweries, at least that I'm aware of, is just a little further down, right on the river. That's where all that Oracle stuff is going in. So that
Yep.
all that might probably connect. It's all pretty close together.
Could be.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah,
I know.
we'll see. Well,
Well, let's hope. Let's cross our fingers for Barik to show up somewhere and keep making that great beer.
we want them to happen. We want it to happen. Well, there is some positive news that's coming about south of Nashville in Murfreesboro, which is near me. Yay! In Murfreesboro. So
You're
there
happy to
is
get new stuff down there.
thank you very much. there's a new brewery that is going to be opening soon in Murfreesboro. In fact, we're going to get these guys on a podcast episode and talk about it. Smack Dab Brewery in Murfreesboro is going to be opening soon. I think it's going to be more towards the square around MTSU area where it's going to be opening. But I do know that these guys are going to be opening up a brewery that's like about 3,000 square feet, something like that. And
pretty
I'll tell
big.
you what, man, I got to meet a couple of these guys at Cabin Fever, the Cedar Glade Beer Fest, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. A few months ago, just really excited for these guys because they've been home brewers for years, and now look what they're gonna do. They're gonna dabble in, and they're gonna jump right into the waters and open up a brewery.
Murfreesboro needs it. Murfreesboro needs
Yep.
more breweries. I know it's a tough time to open breweries and stuff, but I'm glad to see it. I'm glad they're, see something new, and they're in a spot where nobody else is too. I mean, there's a couple others in Murfreesboro, but they're not really near any of those. So it's good to see some expansion, in the brewery world.
Looking at their website right now, which is smackdabbrewery.com, brewing.com, and they already have a list of some of the beer offerings that they're going to have. They don't have a date yet, but I think we're going to find out soon. It's just it's a really exciting time because, as you said, Murfreesboro, that area, they've got a couple of Cedar Glade down there, Middle Ground. Mr. Brews is there as well. And, our friends from Deep South Growlers. But we want to see more establishments around the Murfreesboro area. And as Murfreesboro continues to expand, hopefully we'll see more of this.
If you listen to our episode with Middle Ground with the Foamy Heads, Brandon mentioned those guys coming in there to drink beer. And he goes, if you weren't in here drinking beer, you could be finishing up your brewery.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Because as long as you're drinking in here, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's going to be an exciting time, and we can't wait to see them. But I'll tell you,
real quick, we've been in communication with those guys quite a bit, so we plan on doing something with them real soon. And I think they want to get to a point, maybe not necessarily open, but get to a point where they can take some time and do our thing here with us. So
yeah, we'll definitely do a proper thing as we do all the time on the Brewery Underground podcast. But there is one more announcement, one more brewery that just opened recently. Actually, it is the second location. We are so happy because we love the owner of Common John Brewing, LeBron Haggard. I'll tell you what, this guy is absolutely, if you've never met LeBron, you are missing out. This guy is one of the most down-to-earth people you'll ever want to meet. And Common John Brewing, they are in Manchester, Tennessee. Well, you know what? I think it's a very smart business strategy on his part. Instead of going north, he's gone south. And he just opened up a second location. It's in Giles County, which is Pulaski, Tennessee. So it's my understanding that really the local community, they were really excited to have him come there.
It's like LeBron's taken over all these rural areas with breweries.
Yes.
He's like, I'm going to go with the rural area and be the only game in town and do a great job at it. And I think when he was on the episode with us, he was like, hey, people from that area even come up to Manchester because they don't have a lot in the Pulaski area. So he kind of looking at for a second location. That made a lot of sense for them. So that gives those people there a place to go. The Manchester area, same thing. He's created demand there, and people love going out there. That's a great space, by the way, out there.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, it's so awesome. The nightlife alone is worth going for.
Absolutely.
And from the pictures and posts I've seen, like, it's a full brewery out there. Maybe they've got brewing equipment. Like, I don't know what they're going to brew out there and how much they're going to brew, but it's not just feeding from Manchester. They've got brewing equipment out there, so they've kind of got their own little brewery out there. So that's exciting to see. And I don't know how or when, but we'll have to make some time to go to Pulaski, Tennessee. But it's great. He's locked that market up. He's locked this rural brewery market up, and he's gonna do well at it. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And for people that we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but if you have not heard our episode we did from the Beer Fest from Cabin Fever, LeBron came on. There was a bunch of people that came on. LeBron was on there as well. And like I said, I can't say enough great things about this guy. He's just a fabulous dude. We had him on the podcast a while back, and he knows what he's doing, and so yeah, go support them.
Yeah, outstanding guy. And he's one of those guys too. And I told him this was like he lives in the Manchester area. He's got a brewery. You will see him at breweries all over the place. You'll see
Oh,
him.
all over the place. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
he'll visit them. He likes to support people by showing up. And we saw him at Stokehouse once, and when Amy Parks was in town, and
Yeah.
just randomly, he's always somewhere supporting the local breweries too. So, but he's got to come all the way to Nashville to do that a lot of times too, and he does. It's just
Yep,
great to
yep.
see.
Well, I think that covers a lot of news, of sort of breweries and things like that, that have happened just past year. A lot going on in 2026. Anything, sir, that I have missed? Maybe you would like to add.
Well, no, but you've got this on your list, but I want to introduce because I want you to talk about this. 'Cause I'm really excited about it. You went to a brewery for the first time very, very recently. And I know
Long
you're probably going to
overdue.
talk about it next, but I really want you to talk about it because we know how good of a guy this guy is. So,
Yeah.
you just recently went to Curio out there in
Yes.
Franklin, Tennessee. And it's the only brewery out there. There's
Uh-huh.
some other places. There's the liquor store you mentioned, and then there's like Brew House South out there. But this is the only brewery in that area by far.
Yeah, and Curio was a long, long overdue trip for me. I mean, we've seen them out at, had their beer out at beer festivals, and we've talked so much about the traffic in Nashville and blah blah blah. And I like where I live, it's like Curio's like an hour from me, but I was out that way recently, and I walked in, and Bond was in there, and sat down. I probably talked to him for a good hour and a half, and such a great space that they have there out in Franklin. As you said, they're the only game in town, and I made a post about it. I'm like, Franklin, the heck is going on, man? You got to have more breweries
Yeah.
out here. I mean, Franklin has it, for people that are not familiar with Franklin, Tennessee. By the way, it's where like Carrie Underwood lives and all the stars. So you would think they would have everything out there, right? And I didn't ask Vaughn, by the way, if Carrie Underwood has ever come in there or any of the other big time celebrities. But no, a great place. And I really enjoyed talking to him because it sounds like he's got a lot going on. He's trying to expand. I know we've talked to him about coming on the podcast, and I think we're going to go there at some point. But it's really an area that is underserviced. It's Williamson County, so it's the next
Mhm.
county over from Nashville. And next, there's only there's only that I know of, like two breweries in like Williamson County. There's Mill Creek and there's Curio. And there really
Yeah.
isn't any other games in town. And you go, man, and those are far apart.
Yeah, they're not even close to each other. I
No,
mean,
no,
Mill Creek is
no.
closer to me than it's, you know what I mean? Than
No.
it's just down the road. Vaughn, he's really embracing that though. I'm the only one here and kind of out on an
Yes.
island. He's really owning it. Not that he said he would, he'd take two across the street. He wouldn't care. Two other breweries across
Yeah.
the street. He's really owning it and making his own out there. And he's making waves. He's making really good beer. Excellent beer. And a cool thing about the history of that building, there were 3 other breweries in that building before it was Curio. Mill Creek was there for a minute.
Okay.
Before that, it was Mantra, if you remember Mantra, Artesian
Mhm.
Ales. And prior to that, which I had never been to, was Turtle Anarchy
Okay.
when
Yeah.
they had a space. So I
Wow.
actually learned that part. So I think I got the order right. But yeah, so this is the 4th brewery that's been in that spot. But he's got a really great spot. I really do like going out there.
He does. I mean, I'm looking right now, just pulling up his tap list, and he's got like 17 different beers that
Yeah.
are on tap. As I'm looking at it now, and 2 of them on there I had. One of them was the Chloe, an English Pale Ale, and the other one, this was around St. Patrick's Day. It was the Irish Green Ale, Irish Jade,
Yeah.
which was a green beer. I know I posted it, and I got some funny comments from people like, "What are you doing?" And but no, it was a great time. And again, talking to him for a while, just his knowledge and everything that he's trying to get done and wanting to do, and that area. I mean, Franklin, again, I would just tell people, if you're coming into Nashville, you live in Nashville, there's so much to do out in Franklin. There really is. You could plan a
Yeah.
day out there, and if you're planning a day or you're planning a trip, go to Curio, go check that place out. It is really cool.
You could make a day out there. You could do Curio. Brew House South is my favorite brew house in town. They've got a
Yeah.
really great beer selection.
Well,
Really
that's
not that
that's
far.
where I went after I went there.
Yeah.
I went there. That's funny. We talked about Cool Springs Wine and Spirits. The day I went out there, I have some friends that live out in that area, and I was going to go visit them towards later in the day. So I went to Curio first, and then I went to Brew House South, and then I went and I loaded up at Franklin Wine and Spirits, and of course I had
Yep.
got some beer, and that's where I got this hoof hearted or hoof hearted. Yeah.
You also could go down to downtown Franklin, and they've got
Mhm.
a cool little tap room down there. As a matter of fact, that's where I met Eric Latham for the first time. And if you like cocktails, they've got a couple really good cocktail places down there, too, craft cocktail places. You could spend a day in the Franklin area and get, several things.
Definitely. Yep. You sure could.
You want
So,
to transition to
yeah.
Beer Fest or?
Yeah. So we've teased it a little bit. Here in 2026, in May, it's only May, we have already been to 3 beer festival this year. One of them that we did a podcast episode from, and I'll tell you what, we have had so much fun at these beer festivals this year, Scott.
Think about that, what you just said for a minute. We've been to 3, and the first one was in February. The first
Yeah.
one was we've been to 3. There's a lot of people that don't go to 3 beer festivals in a year. We've been to 3 already. And as we're recording this, it's April 22nd. So it's like we've been to 3 already,
right.
starting in February, which were all great beer fests, by the way.
Yeah, they really were. I mean, when we went to, Cedar Glade Cabin Fever, congratulations again to them when they put this on, because this was the first event for them, first time. We did that particular one, with the foamy heads, and I think they're probably going to have that each and every year. And one of the really fun things that I loved about that particular beer festival was not only did we get to see a lot of the folks from other breweries that we know around Murfreesboro and the Nashville area and other rural areas as well, we got to meet a lot of the folks that are home brewers, and they had a whole section
Wow.
of that. And
Wow, did they?
what a great line. I mean, I didn't come prepared tonight to talk about every beer that I checked off at this beer festivals from a lot of the home brewers, but we got to talk to a bunch of them, and there's some guys out there and some girls out there that are really killing it just doing home brews.
Yeah. Dude, we started in the home brew section that day before we turned the mics on.
Yes, we
got our
did.
stuff set up right, and we went over there. We spent so much time before we got the pros. We had to go back and actually do some work, which is we turned the microphones and talked to people before
Woo!
we got to the, like the pro brewers over there. So it was amazing talking to those people. They had great passion, making really good stuff. And when you home brew like that, you can be experimental on some things. I think about the Cavocado Brewery. They had some really good stuff, and they've actually made beers before with avocado in them, and just
I know.
House of Dogs. Shane, we know Shane a little bit over there. That he's
Little
killing
bit,
it and
yep.
stuff. Yeah, he's always makes great beer. And I'm like you, I don't remember all the names of the stuff, but really, we spent so much time over there and tried all the beers, and everything was fantastic. I mean, it rivaled anything else that was in at the beer fest.
I agree, and it was again. It's just again, I did not come prepared as far as like who I talked to in each one on this podcast episode, but I could just tell you some of the great conversations that I had with some of the home brewers, and you were like, okay, how long have you been brewing beer? 20 years. I've been doing this, and maybe they don't get out. Maybe they don't get out as much at certain things, but doing this event and then trying what they have is a really cool thing. So I thought that was a really, really good aspect of that particular beer festival that day.
Yeah, and Common John, when they do their beer fest, he was a big advocate of that too, having the home brewers having their own section. So it's great to see that out there. And if you ever go to beer fest and there's a home brewer section, don't skip over them. They are making really good stuff out there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the other brewery festival that we went to, you had gone last year. This was the first trip I made this year. Which one was it, Scott?
Tailspin in Louisville, Kentucky. And if you remember me bitching about it for about 6 months last year, about how freaking cold it was, this was that beer fest.
Yes.
Right there in Louisville, Kentucky, right at the airport. It's kind of an open field kind of thing. Not a lot of wind protection and whatnot. But I'll tell you this, the weather was better this year by far.
Well, it was raining, and I did buy like this rain suit, and I'm glad I didn't have to wear the
Pant.
entire thing because I probably would have looked like an astronaut or something. But we went, we had fun. It was a great day. Even that day we went, we checked off some new breweries before and after, and the fine city of Churchill Downs, and always get to hang with the Hill Tappers.
Yep.
They're friends as well. So yeah, that was another fun event, and the representation of breweries, not only
Yeah.
from that area but from other areas as well, which is tremendous.
Yeah, they packed in a lot in that thing. We packed in a lot in just really 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed one night, did the beer fest, and like left the next day or something. It was maybe, but it was quick. But great time. It did rain, but it rained that first part, and then it kind of went away. So we got a clearing, we got a break pretty shortly after we got there, which made it
Yeah.
for a better time. But we met the Hill Tappers out, took us to some places. We went to and their buddy Mike. They run with Mike quite a bit. We got to hang out with him for the first time, which was
Yes,
awesome.
we did. Yep.
And remember, we went to the Bob Dylan's whiskey bar
Oh yeah.
at the end of the night. I forget what it's called. But anyway,
Wow. What a
how cool was that?
place.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's cool. We kind of finished off the night there, which was really hell of it. But like to take pictures in there is pretty amazing. The place looks
Yes.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
indeed.
pretty awesome. Yep. So we
Yes,
finally got
indeed.
there.
Yep. And then our third beer festival that we went to, once again, congratulations to Rhizome Productions for the East Nashville Beer Festival. They do it up great every year. We went this year. We had a lot of fun. I'll tell you what. Thank you to everybody that came out and said hello to us, and a few folks that had actually recognized us from doing the podcast, and some other beer folks as well. But, man, what a great event. And there were
Yeah.
so many people there. And again, so many great breweries that were represented at the East Nashville Beer Festival this year.
Most local breweries, and then, like you said, the brewers are there. That's one of those events where the brewers are actually there. So you get to see them and
Yeah.
talk to them for the most part. And then Great Lakes was there.
Yeah.
They were. Now, the ownership wasn't there, but I think Littman was there. So the distributor was there representing them. And some of them recognized us when we came over there, and we got some good pictures and stuff with them. And the funny thing is, we only did 2.5 hours of that brew fest.
Yeah, because we had a podcast episode that morning in Mr. Brews in Smyrna. Which, by the way, if you have not listened to that episode, it was one we did with the Foamies. Go back and listen, because that's a great episode. Little plug there. The only other thing I will say about these beer festivals is that we have so much great beer there, but I am not good at checking off all the beer that I have there because I'm enjoying the beer.
Yeah.
And so I want to go and I want to try different things and have different things. I do remember at East Nashville Beer Festival, there was a really, really, I think it was a Pilsner at Fayette La Force
Okay.
that I had that was really good. Again, I did not write it down, but I remember that one stood out to me that they had there. I think I have that right. I think it was a really good Pilsner that they had unveiled there that day.
I'm with you. What I do is I take a lot of pictures of the beer, the little tags they put on the table.
Yes.
I try to do that, and then I usually get most of them the next day, unless I can get one really quick and check it in. If I've got a minute between the next one. Otherwise, I'm doing the most of it for the next day, because otherwise you're just spending your whole time looking it up and trying to find the beer. And if you're checking in stuff that's not on Untappd, now you got to create it, and that takes time. So you do all that shit the next day.
I know. Well, you mentioned Great Lakes. We were happy to see that Great Lakes made it. I think their first beer festival. I know their first beer festival that they've ever gone to in Nashville, probably in Tennessee. I mean, I can't imagine, who in Tennessee they had gotten to before Nashville. Maybe they did. But the other thing, we champion Great Lakes because we had that petition drive, and they were trying to get into Tennessee. But we have to say, we kind of said this in the beginning of the podcast, I've been doing a little investigative reporting in my own area, going into certain beer stores. Do you have Great Lakes yet? What's going on here? But
we worked hard to get it here. You better have it on the shelf.
You better have it here. But no, I'm starting to see it in some beer stores, even south of where I live, south of Nashville. So it's good to see. But it's really kind of consistent though with what they said their plan is. Eventually, they want to get into the package stores, and then I think I think eventually you'll see them in, like Kroger's and Public and other stores like that eventually. So that'll be cool. I think the first time I walk into like a Kroger or Public and I see Great Lakes, and stand back, everybody, I may make a scene.
Yes, we did that. We did that. It was great. You've actually shared pictures with me when you be at a liquor store or somewhere, and you're like, "Look, they got it," and you send me the picture of what they've got on the shelf.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, and be like,
two different stores, in like Laverne, Smyrna, in my area, that I've checked out over the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, yes,
"Yeah,
yes,
it's here." It's like you were surrounded by it, which is great.
yes, yeah,
And I try to have, because I've got all 4 variants in the variants, all 4 styles that they brought into Tennessee. Well, 5 now. I mean, with the orange and honey, but I try to have at least one every day because I've got some in there. Like, hey, we begged for it, we wanted it, we got it. So sometimes more. I'm always mixing and matching different beers, but I'm always pulling from my fridge. Dortmunder today, maybe a little Elliott Ness, maybe a little Edmund Fitzgerald, whatever. So it's nice to
that's
just
right.
reach into the refrigerator and pull out whatever I want.
I love it. I love it. So Scott, we had some information that just came out the other day that we wanted to mention because the Brewers Association does this every year, and they release a lot of information, sort of like on the previous year, of different things. But one of the things that they also like to do is they like to list out like what are the top 50 craft brewing companies in the United States, and also the
Yep.
top 50 overall brewing companies across the United States. And, maybe there might be one or two of these that we might be familiar with, right?
Yeah, and I like the way you said it because it caught my attention today because it's how it is. It's said it's Brewers Association top 50 brewing companies. And why I say
Yes.
that it's not top 50 breweries, and we've probably said that in the past, top 50 breweries, and thinking, but I read their verbiage and I got to thinking, and I'll tell you why in a minute why I think that's important. But yes, they released their top 50 brewing companies. Shit, not 10 days ago. I don't think it literally was updated. The article was updated April 15th. So a week ago, literally, and maybe released a couple days before that. But we had a whole episode last year about this, and we had Matt come on too from the Brewers Association shortly afterwards, which
Yeah.
their list last year sparked kind of getting him on and kind of talking about all those breweries and stuff. But we love seeing top 50, this, that, stats, whatever. We love
Stats.
lists.
We love our
and we love all
stats.
that stuff. Yeah. And we're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but a couple things. And if you want to read this, it's really good. There's a lot of detail on it, but just go to the Brewers Association's website and they've got it there, and they go into detail and they talk about, the percentages of breweries up and down and closures and all that stuff. But I just wrote down a couple little things that I thought were interesting. And then I'll talk a little bit about the list. But the number of operating U.S. craft breweries fell to 9,578, which is a 2.9% net decline from 2024. So in that regard, the net breweries are still less, right? There's still closures
Yeah.
and
Right.
whatnot. And apparently the closures are outnumbering the openings. Okay. But there's some more detail on that on their website. Something else that's pretty cool was the total craft production last year was 21,859,000 barrels, which is 5% less than it was the year before, with 60% of breweries reporting declines, 39% reporting growth, and 1% holding steady. So if you read the entire article, there's some promising info in there, not
Mhm.
just based on the stats I said, but there's some optimism and whatnot in there. And I'll let you read the article because they talk about it way better than I ever could.
Yeah.
Um,
And the interpretation of it, is out there too.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's good information. It's it's real data, and there might be some optimism in there. They want we all want to see the market grow, but there are maybe some silver linings in there somewhere. So give it a read. It's really good. But the part we like the best is the top 50 list.
Yes.
And we may do an episode where we go in more involved like we did last year. But there are a couple things that really stood out to me this year. And I didn't go through the whole thing entirely. But the number 2 and number 3 brewing companies from last year flip-flopped. So
Yeah.
last year, Boston Brewing Company was number 2 and Sierra Nevada was number 3. This year they flip-flopped. Sierra Nevada is number 2. Boston Brewing Company is number 3, with number 1 being Yingling. So thought that was kind of cool. I'm sure they probably go back and forth. They're probably really close to each other
Probably.
anyway.
Yeah. The battle for supremacy of being number 2 and number 3.
Yeah, it's a lot of beer that they're making. There
Mhm.
is a definition of craft, what a craft brewer is. Small, independent. There's a definition. You got to make less than 6 million barrels a year. Less than 25% of the craft brewery is owned or controlled by a beverage alcohol industry member that not of itself. So there's a whole definition that goes into what a craft brewery is, and we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But here's something. Here's the thing I want to talk about the most. You've heard of the company Garage Beers.
Oh, yes.
Right. You know where they originated. It originated at Braxton.
Yes.
Right. Braxton started all that. Well, 2024, they were not on the list at all. They did not make the top 50. They came into 2025. They're the 12th largest brewing company in the country.
Is there something to do with maybe the Kelsey brothers being involved?
There's something to do with that. Something to do with that. Although what's funny about that is the headquarters apparently says Columbus, Ohio, not Cincinnati. But didn't they both go to Cincinnati? Okay, that's a whole nother thing. But anyway, but so they went from not being on the list in 2024 to being the number 12 on the list in 2025. Now, here's where I go back to brewing company versus brewery, because Garage Beers does not have a brewery.
True.
They are contract brewed by multiple breweries around the country, and it's really kind of hard to find who they are. There's not a lot of detail on necessarily who they are. So they are a contract brewery. They don't have a brick and mortar anywhere. So there's nowhere to go to visit Garage Beers. Brewing company, they qualify, I guess, in this list as the number 12. So don't know a lot of details about how much they're making, but they're selling a lot of beer. And I think it's really just two types, right? Isn't it? Like the lime and the regular?
I think it's good for the person that is looking for a good beer, not a strong beer. It's sort of borderlines almost on, are you craft beer or are you just one of the extension of some of the domestics out there? It's almost teetering a little bit, but that's where we're at now. But I'm not saying anything bad about them because I actually like those beers, and I think both of them, especially the lime, is a really good summer beer.
Yeah, and we both had them back when it was Braxton, when it was part of Braxton. And they're not brewing the beer from what I can tell. They're still involved, but Braxton
they're
is,
not.
But they're not brewing any of the beer. So they're not single. They're a completely different company. They did say here that by the end of 2025, they were expected to brew 300,000 barrels. That's a lot. And they're up like 400 to 500% year over year. So hence them jumping on the list when they weren't there before. They're doing something they're in all 50 states. So that's huge.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get the two guys that are backing it and have ownership in it.
Little name recognition, the fact that maybe they do a podcast and, they can talk a little bit more about their brand. That kind of helps too.
Yes. So the fact that it said top 50 brewing companies caught my eye when I saw Garage Beers on that list. I go, now I know why they're saying it that way. So they qualify. So maybe more to come on them down the road. I thought that was really interesting on that list. I did reach out to them at one point a while ago to see if they would come on the podcast.
Yeah.
So I DM'd them and I got no response. So I DM'd them back again, and I said, what if I sent you a friendship bracelet? And they actually came back with like a smiley face, like laughing kind of thing, but they never said anything.
Yeah.
So they saw
you never know.
our request, but they chose to not come on.
You never know. It may happen. I know when I looked at this list of like the top 10 craft brewing companies, obviously some of the ones that, just a couple that stood out for me. Love, certainly Rheingeist. The Rheingeist is ranked number 19th on this list, so good for Rheingeist. And then, of course, Great Lakes. They're in there, too, at 26.
Yep. A little shuffling around with, placement, but that's probably just a couple of barrels here and there. I don't think there's any big deal, but they're on the list. But, yeah, a lot of recognizable brands on there that we know. I think I saw, here's something interesting, too, and this will answer the question if there ever was one. BJ's Restaurants. Have you ever been to a BJ's restaurant?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And they've got one in Murfreesboro, I believe, and I've been to several. They're listed on here, so they are actually making, and I knew they did, they made their own beer.
Yeah.
I think it's the same beer wherever you go, but I could be wrong about that. But they're on the list at 48, so a place like that.
I think they do. If you go to a BJ's, they have like maybe their own lager or something like that. I don't know who actually makes it, but that they're on the list.
And everyone I've ever been to had some kind of, looks like they had some brewery equipment in the back. If they were fully brewing there, I don't know, but they always had equipment there.
That's right.
Kind of cool to see. Here's another one, and maybe it won't be here next year, but Brewdog Brewing Company
That is
is
one.
35.
It's very interesting. I saw they're on the list, and if you follow BrewDog like we have, I mean, they have closed down a lot of their breweries. So I was looking at that the other day, and I thought, they're still on the list, even though they have closed quite a few of the breweries across the
Yeah.
country.
I'm guessing because those are, well, it is because they're 2025 numbers and we're just getting those
Yes.
numbers now. So a lot has changed since the end of the year of
Yeah,
2025 until now. So I got a feeling next year's list is going to look a little different.
probably will. Yeah.
Not that I want anybody to be out of jobs or anything, but with the stuff they've gone through and are
Yeah.
doing
Just a lot
lends
of the
itself to,
changes.
yeah, something's going to change there. So, we could pick this thing apart, but there's places like Pizza Port. Don't know what that is. The Florida Brewery. Be interested to kind of know what that is. I think we know Maine Beer Company. Surly, cool names like that. That's how we learned about some of the brands we talked to last year. Like when we talked about this, we ended up getting Sweetwater on because we realized they were part of Tilray.
Yes.
And Tilray's like, God, 4, in the
And
country.
tremendous brand. Yeah, tremendous brand.
Yeah, so a lot of cool things. Check out the list if you just like lists, and then they've got the top 50 overall brewing companies too, like not craft, but just all of them. Of course, you got Anheuser-Busch and Molson, and then Constellation, and blah blah blah. Yingling hits at number 7, so the first craft brewery that pops up on the overall list is Yingling. So kind of cool stuff. We like that stuff.
We do. Well, from that to this, we teased this at the beginning of the podcast, and I don't know, we've drank some beer this year, and at the end of the year, you always listen to our top 10 beers of the year. We'll have that at the end of the year, but we wanted to just talk a little bit, just briefly, about some of our maybe like 5 beers
Yeah,
that we've
just
had so
5.
far this year
Sure.
that are kind of notable. And I'll start with some of mine.
What'll be
One of
interesting
them,
is, real quick,
yes.
is any of these at this point make it to the end of the year overall thing. So we
Ooh,
still got like 7 months to go. So we'll see.
will this hoof-hearted make it at the end of the year? That's a good
We shall
question.
see. Stay tuned.
We shall see. Here are the ones that have made it so far at the top of my list. The rankings that we do on Untapped. All right. So one of the breweries that we really love, and you can get their beer here in Nashville. I know they're a popular brand, Hop Butcher. I had the Run to Daylight not long ago, a triple New England hazy IPA that I rated 4.30 on Untapped. This thing was a 10.5% beer. Yeah, I remember having this at home thinking, man, this thing, love it. I love the flavor profile of it. I love everything about it. And I'm a big New England hazy IPA guy anyway, and so really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, Hot Butcher for the World is really good.
Hot
I
Butcher for the world.
do love their beer.
I know it. Another one, again, it kind of goes into, okay, Zool, you have my respect. You have my respect because this just isn't about the PB&J beers. I'll get to that in a little bit. At Zool, over the mountains and through the woods, again, an Imperial Double New England Hazy IPA, 8.5% that I rated, a 4.30 on Untapped. So Zool for the win. Zool for the win on that one. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Another one, imagine that, Great Lakes in the conversation. And you and I had this. We had this at a beer share not long ago. I was in your garage as you were brewing some beer. And you had brought this back. Where did you get this from, by the way?
I got it in Columbus when I was in Columbus last. It was one of the,
Okay.
I forget the name. Keith took me to this bottle shop in Dublin, and they had it
Yeah.
right there on the shelf. And I go, let's go.
Let's go. Well, this was the Great Lakes barrel-aged mocha blackout stout. And these series that they do, every single one that I've had so far over like the last year and a half have been so tremendous. This is an 11% beer, and I rated this one a 4.30. And I think we were talking about that day, like, what did it taste like? Maybe did it have like a coffee profile in it? Because I'm not like the biggest coffee guy in the world, but if it has some coffee notes, I can handle it. It was more
Mhm.
like a chocolate type vibe, as I remember,
Really
right?
did. Yeah, it really did.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
more of that I think that flavor profile that really brought out this style of beer.
And why I was kinda hanging on to that, so that when you came over to share, because it's, it's a lot, 11%. I think it's still only like a 16-ounce can, maybe a little bigger, but I was like,
Yeah.
this is something you gotta share.
You gotta share. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you shared it with me. And
Absolutely.
it certainly made it. And then, Fayette LaForce here in Nashville, I mean, Fayette LaForce, what did they do wrong, right?
Yeah.
I had this, I did not put down where I bought this from. It was probably from Main Street, but it was their Belgian triple, 9%
Man.
beer that I rated a 4.30 on Untappd. I had actually there was a lot of ratings, even though, I'm an insider now, I still rated some 4.30. So I had to go back and like, okay, but man, I remember this one. It really knocked my socks off. I really loved it. And then my number one beer, and again, this is almost debatable because we love Stokehouse. Everything from Stokehouse is first rate. But for me, my number one beer I've had so far of the year, and it came from Stokehouse. Wow. From the collab they did from East Nashville Beer Works, Heavy Metal Parking Lot. I love saying this. I could say this 5 times. Black Cascadian Dark IPA. Had it at the brewery. Had it about a week after or so after it came out. I think you had it before me. I love the ABV on this, 6.66%.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
And I rated that a 4.50. So it's still on tap there. I have got to get back because I know the night that they were doing the collab with Johnson City, I decided to stick just with Johnson City that night, which, by the way, if all things being true, the collab they did with Johnson City would rank right up there as well. I mean, that one, I think I also rated that one like a 4.3. But this was my highest rated beer. This is my highest rated beer so far of the year. Not a 5 yet. 4.5.
That is amazing. Something about that beer you might not know, maybe you do. They put squid ink in it.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. Yep.
And it's just like you don't taste it or anything like that. It came out, he said it was dark, but it wasn't as dark as they wanted. So put some squid ink in it. That thing is as dark as night. It is pitch black and it's awesome.
Yeah, really is. And so you had given me we talked earlier in the podcast episode about the PB&J mixtapes. You had given me two that I had not had before. You had given me the raspberry and you had given me the cherry. The cherry was my favorite out of the two. The interesting thing, and I don't know if you notice this or not, I especially noticed this on both of them, is it's funny because you can smell when you open it up, you can smell the peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top, sometimes it's like, ooh, I'm getting the sweetness. And then you go through and you're getting more of the balance. And then throughout the beer, maybe you're getting more sweetness again, more balance again. I found the cherry to have more of a balance than I did on the raspberry. I like them both, but the cherry was a little bit more of my thing as far as like the PBJs. And then I have to say this because you brought this beer back to me you were in Columbus, and this is from Powell, Ohio. I think you had gotten this Noctera Brewing Company. I think I
Yep.
got that right.
Yep.
Okay. So, we love to taste like Irish beers. And I know, the Conways from Great Lakes, and there's some other breweries as well that we love to try Irish beers. I probably had at least 4 or 5 this year, different ones that I liked. This is the last one that had been sitting in my refrigerator. And I had it right after St. Patrick's Day. I did not think I would like this as much as I did. This was called the Irish Dan. It was a Munich Dunkel. And I don't always write in a review on Untappd, but this is what I put down. Now this is my kind of an Irish beer. I was a little skeptical. Has hints of coffee, not a coffee drinker, but what little I could taste was just enough. Also had a touch of Irish cream and mint. I will be returning to this one in the future. And I rated that a 4.20 on Untappd. And I'll tell you what, that's another one where I had it. I just went, I'm sitting at home. I'm having a great time. No, I remember the moments
Oh,
as
that's
a beer
good.
drinker, and I loved it. And I'm going to tell you what, I will seek that out next year when it comes out again.
Good. Fun fact. First of all, I can't take full credit. I did bring it back for you. Keith from Porch Beers USA was up there with me, and he gave me.
Yes.
We swapped some beer kind of at the end. I bought some 6-packs. And those were a couple he gave to us to
Well,
so we
thank
could
you, Keith.
have. Yeah. So
Yes,
Keith
thank you,
gets full
Keith.
credit
Shout
on
out
that
to
one.
Keith out there.
Another cool thing is that Dan series, Nocterra does, they do variations of it. So they do an Irish, I think they do a winter something, and then maybe something else along the way that they do too. So that's some kind of variation that they do. And that Irish one seems to be one of the more well received ones, so people that like the best.
Yeah. Oh, man, I love it. So those are my notes on some of the beer mentions so far of the year. And I'm sure as we go further into the year, we'll have more.
I
What you
like
got?
that. I'm looking at your ABVs, and you've got nothing less than 6.66%. There's nothing less. Everything up there is pretty high ABV, all the way up to 11. So that's mine goes to 11. That
Go
is,
big or go home.
yeah, I
It doesn't
love
mean I
it.
don't like, and it doesn't mean I don't like lagers because this summer I'll be on the lookout for
Sure.
those Mexican lagers. So
But
yeah,
those things stand out, and it's not, they don't necessarily have to be big and boozy. They just, the alcohol happens to be that, and the beer is delicious, even with the
Yeah.
high ABVs.
flavor profile all comes together. You love
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, you got 2 triples. You got a triple Belgian and a triple New England IPA. So I'm like, yes, I love that. I love that. Okay, I'll go through my 5 real quick. Number 5 is one we mentioned earlier, actually not that long ago. It's the Citrus Hefe, Citrus
Mhm.
Heffa from Stokehouse Brewing and Barbecue, collab with Johnson City Brewing out of Johnson City, Tennessee. Love this beer. I can't rave
Tremendous.
enough about it. Yes, and I know a lot of people don't like Hefeweizens, and I like Hefeweizens. This one was over the top.
Well, and I know I said that, and sorry to interrupt. I know
No,
I
you're good.
said that in the beginning of the podcast where I've gone in before and I've gotten some Hefes out there, and I'm just like, no, this just doesn't work out. And I mean, what they did with that one was just tremendous. I mean,
Yeah.
it really was.
And really no adjuncts. Like, they didn't add anything to it. It's really just like citrus. I think he said he put some orange zest or some lemon zest or something in it,
Mhm.
and that's kind of it. But it's so juicy and it's so bold, but it's still a Hefeweizen at the same time.
Yeah.
So you get that back end, which is the part most people don't like, is that cloves and that bananas on the back end. But I like it. I gave it a 4.5. It's 5.5% ABV, and it's the one they released for the release party we talked about earlier. It's a fantastic beer, and I love
Really
it. And
is.
I'll tell you what, I probably, in all my lists that we've done in 3 years, probably haven't had a Hefeweizen on any of them. Looking back, I don't think
I don't think I have. I mean, again, if I went back and maybe this might be research for a future podcast when we do, when we do at the end of the year and we talk about what our favorite beer styles were, I can't think of a hef that I have rated in recent memory that high. I think I rated that about like a 4.20 or something. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think for most people, they either don't like them or they're just going to put a Hefeweizen maybe somewhere in the middle, even a really good one, right?
It's
Unless
just there. They just stick it out there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it's an old European traditional style, but it's just
Mhm.
not for everyone. But I really love that friggin' beer. I really did.
Yes.
So, number 4, and we had it at the East Nashville Beer Fest recently, Maisie with Peacherine by Marble Fox.
Okay, yeah, remember it.
And I got to go back and get some more because I only had a taster. But when I had, I go, yep, that's when you go in the beer fest and you have a bunch and yeah, they're all kind of the same.
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, that one's not the same as the rest of them. That one's pretty damn good. So I'm gonna go back and get a can or a draft or something. But it's an 8.5% double IPA. We just had it back on the 11th of April. It's lovely, and that's a variation of the Maisie series that they do. So Peacherine, awesome, great job, Marble Fox. Number 3 is Mosaic Stack. And it's from Russian River Company, which is the people that make Pliny the Elder and
Mhm.
Pliny the Younger. I happened to get it because, Brian and Nicole, they were coming back from California where she was living, and she brought some back for us. So,
Okay, yeah.
it's just an American IPA, 6.5%, and I gave it a 4.5, a 4.5 on
Alright.
Untapped. Excellent beer. Number 2, very familiar theme, Big Schwartz from Stokehouse.
Yeah, yes.
Stokehouse got 2 of my 5 already. It's a Schwartz beer, and I love those. It's kind of up there with those black IPAs. It's kind
I
of
think we
similar in
had
some
that in
of the
like the beginning of the year.
very beginning. Like it was
Yep.
like maybe the 2nd of January or something.
Yes.
Really, it
Yep.
made
I
the cut
remember.
of 2026. Love that friggin' beer. I gave it a 4.8 on Untappd. It is fabulous. 6.8%. Yep. And I had it January 2nd for the first time. And I love that style anyways.
Yes.
Chad, you nailed it on the Big Schwartz. Awesome. Freaking love that beer. And my number one beer is one you had on your list already. And I had it recently too. Matter of fact, we bought them at the same time, I think. Over the Mountains and Through the Woods.
Uh-huh.
It's actually a Zool and a Burial collab. And you know how I feel about Burial.
Yes.
So I gave it a 4.8. It did edge out the Big Schwartz just by a hair. And probably because it was the collab, right? So there are two breweries putting in on the one to get to the 4.8.
Yeah, because we had that. Well, you bought the can, and actually, I think you gave me a can, but I had that on a flight the one night we went there.
Okay, it's fabulous, and I'll tell you what, this might sound crazy, but it's a Zool and a Burial collab. I feel like I could taste the two breweries within the beer, if that makes sense. Like I could taste the Burial part, and I could taste the Zool part. I feel like I could, and the two coming together just was like, this beer is phenomenal.
Well, the night that I had it, I think you had asked me what I thought about it, and I remember my comment. I didn't even write it down. I remember my comment. I said, this tastes like what an Imperial Double New England Hazy IPA should taste like. This is what you would expect it to taste like.
100%. And it's my favorite style of beer too, so that lends, itself to it. So all those things coming together was like, oh, this beer's almost perfect. I don't know why it's not perfect really, but I had to get, maybe when I have the second time, I'll throw it up there at the 5, but I loved it so much, and I do feel like I could get the Burial and the Zool out of the beer when I was drinking it. So anyway, I've got two honorable mentions as well, and one of them is on your list also, the Barrel Aged Mocha Blackout Stout from Great Lakes. And I gave it a 4.5, and I gave others 4.5. But you had it on your list, so I put it in my honorable mentions. Just to add a little color to the whole list. We didn't duplicate everything, so it was awesome. And the last one I have for honorable mention is Batch 1 Theory 10th anniversary, but it's a blend. So they blended their Imperial Stout and their Brandy Rye Whiskey Barrel.
Oh wow!
Yeah, well, let me start. They blended their Imperial Stout, which was aged over 36 months, in a Brandy Rye Whiskey Barrel, and a barley wine that was aged over 40 months in a maple finished bourbon barrel. So crazy. It was wow. When I got it at Southern Grist, it literally was the last pour. Like he goes, man, we're running low on this. You might want to go ahead and get one. So I got a pour of it, and literally the keg tap.
Wow.
Like that was it. It was all over. I gave it a 4.5. Your typical 10.1% in Tennessee ABV. But it was, fantastic beer.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see if any of our beers show up at the end of the year in our top 10 beers of the year list.
I have a feeling one or two of them will, but you know what? Yeah. I look at it and I go, hey, is there room for improvement?
Sure.
Yes, there is.
You don't know what you're going to have tomorrow, and you'll be like, holy crap. You might something.
You never know.
You never know. So we've got a lot of beer to drink between now and then.
We do.
And there's no telling what we're going to discover.
That's right. We do. So, well, good deal. Well, you know what? That is it as far as like the stuff that's going on. It's only May.
Yep.
And these are all the things that have already happened since the beginning of the year. Imagine what is to come.
Yeah. I think like when you suggested this, it's like we have so much stuff to talk about. Let's do something so we can kind of get it out. Let's get some of this out.
Yeah,
while some of it's still timely.
Exactly. And all we can say is, we got a lot of great more episodes coming with a lot of more great guests, and we'll be back soon and tell you all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a whole bunch of stuff lined up, so we'll stay tuned for that. And I guess you'll listen. Somebody will. All right. I guess you'll listen and find out who they are.
Thanks for listening. All right. Well, raise your beers. I have pretty much finished. What do you got there?
Open a new one from Mill Pond Brewing called C Note.
All right.
I think I got it in Tavour for my Tavour.
I'm done with my 10.5%. Who farted?
Who farted?
Brewery Underground Podcast. See you soon, everybody.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.